I think, and you know, when we had the board reviewing these, they used to consider this, our objections like that. And I think that's another thing when the board switched it to the planning. Planning board they're good. I mean, they're not bad, except, you know, they don't really want to get into that too much. And I understand. I talked to Reed Karen also, that the ZBA doesn't want to handle wetlands. So there's a conflict there, and it's us as conservation trying to enforce good environmental codes. And we need support. We really do need support.
I'm not too sure whether, you know, it's just an opinion, it's not a fact. That, you know, if we had not empowered the planning board to be the single judge, jury here on wetlands applications, whether this would have come back any different. It seems to me that the two are not quite of the same, they don't share quite the same vision that you do here, because let's face it, you guys are honed in on this one aspect, very important. They are looking at a lot of other things. I can see, and I'm not there, I've never, you know, I don't go to planning board meetings, I've seen a couple of them on television, but I don't go to the meetings. But, you know, what's 10 feet, you know, what's 10 feet? Well, the attitude here is, yeah, it's 10 feet. And if we say yes to 10 feet, then it's 15 feet, and it's 20 feet, it's 45 feet, it's 30 feet. You're building a new house, you're relocating the entire property, you're gonna make a decision based on the pool and the cabana, that you can't move it 10 feet.
Plus, you're making it 4 times the size.
Plus you've increased.
Right.
3 bedrooms to 5.
Increased the size of this.
And
So for, you know, again, I think this is something that, the Newtown board, I'm not going to become a lame duck here, or be accused of being a lame duck, or quack like a lame duck, but I do think it's I think this current town board sees your point, has embraced it. Same thing with the WMAC in terms of their dock applications and not having a moratorium, but holding it strictly to the town code, nothing more than 100 feet. I think the pendulum, you know, as it swings back and forth, and it always does, you know, we swing way out to the right, then we swing back to the left. We're on the process of probably swinging to a more conservative view of these applications, which are honoring wetlands and valuing wetlands to a higher degree than they have been valued in the past. So it's something that that momentum will be determined by, you know, how we act in our last 3.5 months, but how the Newtown board behaves when they come in and what type of guidance they're gonna give. Because we don't want committees competing against committees, you know. However, I love the fact, and I will applaud you with the fact that you can pick up the phone and the 2 chair people both of you pick up the phone and touch base with Ian and have that discussion. You know, maybe it's time that maybe the 3 of you, along with the 2 liaisons, maybe the 5 of us sit in a room and talk a little bit about this stuff. You know, rather than bring the entire town board in, I would make myself available, if you 2 would make yourself available, and then the planning board liaison and planning board chair sit down and say, listen, this is how we see things. We appreciate your job, but get our point of view here, especially in you can cite this application and have some type of dialogue back and forth. I don't know if that works. If it doesn't work, I find that problems are best solved at the lowest common denominator, you know, one-on-one, rather than bring the town board and the attorneys in and forcing things down. And I'm just a volunteer, and now you're forcing us down. How about my judgment? You know, and we get into this whole concept of, but the 2 committees are responsible here. We haven't negated our responsibility about wetlands applications here. And your input to the planning board is something that they read, heard,
yes, it did.
and bought mostly into, but in this 1 or 2 instances didn't. Maybe we need an explanation of why. Why, when you're building an entirely new, don't tell me it's a pool and a cabana, come on, 10 feet, right?
that's back quite a ways too, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The cabana. I've worked on that, so I kind of know what the layout is.
Yeah. It is.
You know, of course, the house is getting
It's
so much
just-
bigger
Just
that,
speaking off the cuff, but you know,
But see what happens now, if we had a hearing like you would have normally with the board, we would bring these things up.
yes.
Before the resolution was settled. The resolution is written and signed off now by the planning board. And there was no discussion whether we should include that or not include that, or why we didn't include it.
Right.
I mean, the
What do you
reason.
think, Pam? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Right.
No, it's something I want to bring up tomorrow at around the table.
Okay.
After watching the planning board for a couple of meetings now.
Okay,
So, yeah, no,
Okay. Okay.
on the drive up to Rochester back, I was like,
yes, yeah.
I
I think that, I mean, that idea of putting it, you know, kind of having a joint meeting, just the chairman. I don't think the whole committees have to be together, but just trying to get everybody in the liaisons too, where the liaisons are, to try to get some agreement, basic agreement on what we're trying to accomplish and do.
I think there just has to be a really good reason not to be in that 100, you know.
Yeah, if you were
It's
ready.
gotta be better than just, you know,
Yeah. So that's,
I feel like it, you know.
On a scale of 1 to 10, you know, we always talk about scales 1 to 10, 10 being a great reason, and 1 being a
Yeah.
terrible reason.
Right.
I won't give this a number, but it's
Yeah.
not a high number.
I realize it's all grass all the way down to the water and all that nonsense,
Get it.
but even still, it's just, you know.
I mean, but that 100 foot is not going to get to 90 foot ever. It's going to maybe go to 110 as the environment changes and the flooding.
With erosion, it might go to 80. You don't know. But anyway,
It's a problem, but I just thought we should have something, I don't know.
It seems to me that every applicant is trying to max out.
True.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
You can't blame them for it.
yeah,
Although other applicants don't try to do that, and so, but that's just a fact.
but it's
And
funny
the
though, like,
committees who are looking at it, they're still in this mode of, I mean, there's in this particular one, does it have any impact on the groundwater? If I raised my house size from 1,500 to almost 5,000, does it have impact on the groundwater? Sure. Instead of 2 people, now all of a sudden there are 5 or 6 taking a shower.
Right.
And if you rent it out, then they don't care how long they let the water run.
right.
So that's all, take that into consideration.
Right, right.
At least give me a good reason. That's the first step. Give me a sensible argument why that
Right.
is not a factor,
Right. Yeah.
instead of
But like if they're designed, you know. if it-
respectfully we
It
disagree.
was like Carpe. Carpe
Right.
had that little extension stuff. And we're like, no, it's got to stay in the footprint. And then they redesigned it to stay in the footprint and they're going to go ahead and do it. So, you know, I mean, that's what should be done. They, you
And
know.
that was a very limited envelope, so here, you're talking about
Oh, yeah, but they were intersecting 75-foot lines.
Sure, oh, sure, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's so difficult,
Right,
it's so limiting down there.
yeah.
But here, when you have an acre, you have an acre, and you can.
Yeah, there's plenty of room and, you know, precedent setting things like this, you know, it just aren't, I don't.
I mean, that's why we have the discretion. You have a situation where you really devalue the property or make it unusable by holding them to the last 25 feet.
Right.
That's what the discretion is for.
Right.
You take that all into consideration, yes, we make an exception.
Right.
But to sit on 2.3 acres, to pick another example, and say, we want to see the sunset, I don't get it.
Yeah, but the example though is like with Carpe, is it costs them money to have it designed kind of incorrectly. It should have been designed to fit that footprint in the beginning, and there shouldn't have been any leeway that ever would happen. So, you know, it costs them more money now to redesign it and have it.
I mean, I've considered a carport. I go to town hall and said, what's my setback?
Right.
I don't build the
Yeah, yeah.
carport and then
Look for
find
variance.
out I
Yeah.
need a variance,
Right.
and now I have a hardship. that I-
Right. Yeah.
That's on the architect and whoever else looks at this.
Yeah,
And you know, the reason for the 75 to 100 is so we get mitigation. So that they give up something to build in there a lot of of times, and where you lose that is when you go to the nearshore overlay. We don't really have that discretion. The code says no construction in that 100-foot.
Right.
That's what the code says. Whether the code is correct, is printed that way, that's what.
Not that it matters, but I remember years ago, this is before your time, Jim, there was a guy, Finkelstein built a house at the very point out there, and he had a whole sod lawn put in. And they turned on the sprinkler and left it on for the whole week, but it went back to Jersey. And he came back the next weekend and the sod was all brown. So he's calling up the sod guys, what the hell's going on? You saw this stuff died, I've been watering it all week. Well, he pumped all the fresh water out of the tip of Westmoreland.
Got salt.
And got salt and then salted and killed everything. So, I mean, he was kind of almost run out of that place by the time, it was all said and done. But people don't realize how fragile it is, that little peninsula. There's no real water out there at all, so.
There's a lot of it, that's down by me in Montclair, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
One end property, I talk, where they gonna put, it floods over the septic system. If you put it, you gotta have a pressurized system on a mound.
Right.
And it's costly, but in order to occupy that type of site,
Right.
that has to be done.
Well, I'm talking to a blue in the face, but two recommendations that I wrote down, I don't know if they're any good. I think you brought up one of them about prior to the design process.
Oh, yes.
Getting the word out that this is, you have to be very aware of the town code.
Right.
And tell the builder, the architect, everybody, because these things are not, forget what happened a year ago, forget what happened 6 months ago,
Right.
10 years ago. Here's the new emphasis, and make that abundantly clear
Right.
prior to design. And the second one is perhaps, and again, I'm not forcing this, getting together with the planning board and the CAC, maybe with the two liaisons to sit down and have a little bit of a discussion, talk about these issues. And I think if we do both of those things, I think there are two major steps forward in getting greater respect for wetlands applications.
Right.
Without any major thing, and still making any recommendations we can to the town code that we feel, is necessary. Then that's from them or from us, or from the town board itself. That, as we quoted many times saying there are, too many loopholes and too many this, that, and the other things. But I think people figured out, and I've been on it for 8 years, I can't pass it to other people. I have voted on things that I wish I had my vote back, and maybe rethought rethought some of these things through, because it's a learning process for all new people on the town board that, when you start to do these things, you do create a precedent. You do encourage other people then, they're all tuned in. They're all watching what you do. They're all looking at the decisions.
Yeah.
These people I hear it, the biggest one I hear about is WRB Bay State. You allowed this guy to have a splash pad, you allowed this guy to have a boat lift, you allowed them to go out 125 feet, you allowed this and the other thing.
I'm entitled none too.
It's almost on every application, we're getting these battles of what we allowed the next door neighbor or the person down the block.
Right.
And we gotta we have to work on consistency a little bit more. This is the way it is. You can't live with that, don't apply.
Right.
So put a mooring out there, you can't have a dock, put a mooring out there.
So Jim, when you built your house, how old is your house?
17 years.
Okay. Going back 17 years, when you built your house, what was the steps you went through as the owner of the property to build the house? Did you go right to the architect first?
Now, I interviewed 3 architects at the site.
Okay, yeah.
Chris King was the second one.
Okay.
I won't tell you who one.
Well, I don't need to know who they were. No, I'm just saying,
No, because he built the house, but, I did interview on the property.
right.
And we had Margaret give him proposed plans of what the house we wanted to look like.
Correct.
Concept, first floor, second floor.
So that sounds like the typical person who has property, they're gonna build a house, they find an architect, and they talk, all right, we want this kind of house, 3 bedrooms, whatever, we'd like this layout.
Right.
And then the architect draws up the plans.
And I had no wetlands problems where I was.
Right.
But I did at the last second, because I worked out there doing the plantings, because the house was about to be built. I started the plantings before the house, I don't even know that.
Right.
I had hundreds of plants in before the house was built.
Right.
But I did bring the house forward 17 feet after Chris had staked the house. At the last minute, I came up, I said, no, the backyard's gotta be bigger, I'm too close to the property line, I'm envisioning someday what I'm gonna do in the backyard. I don't mind, it's not a big through street, bring the house 17 feet further, but I was, remember, you're getting a guy from Nassau County that knows nothing about nothing, coming out, had no idea, I've never had a well before, I've never had a septic, that kind of a situation.
So the point I'm trying to make is that, I'm trying to be stereotypical, is that somebody comes out, they have property on their own, the first thing they're gonna do, they might even know there's wetlands within 100 feet of their property. They're gonna go to an architect. And it's architect, all right, I'm designing this house, oh, we like the view here. Now, who in the process needs to educate the architect or the homeowner that, hey, you have some restrictions here because you're near a wetland? Where does that step occur?
That's what
I think it's a shared responsibility.
And it occurs at the building department
Building,
level.
yeah, correct.
Because
Right.
Plans get submitted to the building
Okay,
department
right.
and then they get on a denial letter.
I understand that, right,
Yeah.
okay. But then it goes back to the owner or the architect and they say, well, let's see, we can get this through. So,
People say that it's ultimately, some responsibility goes to the real estate broker. That's never gonna happen because they're interested in one thing.
Of course.
Selling or buying and getting a deal done. They're a little frightened if there's wetlands, bringing the term even up.
Right.
I think,
I guess
so.
the point I'm trying to make, before we get to that step where the architect already has the plans,
Right.
before it goes to the building department, is there a way?
Well, a reputable architect should be,
Do
they
a
know that
code
they have
analysis.
to look to see what's the zoning requirements and
Right,
things like that
okay.
for the town that they're building in. And so a reputable architect should be doing that ahead of the time.
There should be a statement though from the building department of
Right.
what you can do on any
Right, that's what I'm
property.
saying, right.
Doesn't matter setbacks, the zoning, so they don't have to look it up and try to figure it out.
Because every town is different.
Well, I mean, there's C zone, A zone, double A zone, there's
Right.
wetlands, there's
Right.
near shore overlay. I mean, but I don't think any of that's spelled out in specific. So if an architect went in there, unless he, kind of
Yes.
knew what he was doing, a lot of these guys come from the city now, they have no idea about shelter island. In
The other
fact, a
thing
lot
is
of them
you-
never built on anything with ground.
When you look at it, when
It's-
you look at apartments, I'll give you the perfect example as going out to Silver Beach. There is an uproar in Silver Beach community overall. People say, Jimmy, how the hell did they approve that, It's a wall, looks like the Berlin Wall almost, it's dark and it's constant building. You can't see the wall anymore, and the road's very tight. So you had a single little road going in there with houses on both sides going out to a beautiful beach area. And people weren't used to that enclosed area of like going through the Midtown Tunnel kind of thing, with that kind of thing. And people said, how did that happen? And I said, to be honest with you, kick myself in the ass for either I should have recused myself or should have voted it down. But it was too big.
Right.
It was too big for that property. It was too ambitious. It's.
But that's all opinion.
Right. I guess,
That's all opinion.
I guess the,
We have code items.
It is,
I guess,
when you're saying educating these other people,
I don't think it's beyond education. Like, when you put in a grant proposal to the National Fisheries Service,
Yeah.
instead of putting out the 50 or 150-page grant, you get a pre-application that you have to fill out first. And then if that gets approved, then you can go and do all the work and put out the rest of the big application. So if you get denied at the
Yeah,
first,
well, that's
you're not
right.
gonna spend all that time. So maybe there's a way
That's a good idea.
where, before it gets to the building department, somehow there has to be some communication with this piece of property, before the architect builds the house, before the owner gets real excited about what they want to do. They get some type of a notification or letter, on your property, these are the issues that you need to know about. There's no wetlands on your property, so you don't have to deal with that. You do need to
the
be,
only time we ever covered that, Mark, was with site plan review. And it was the stuff along 114 here, Marcelo's property down the way when they started with cracking concrete.
Right.
Or walking into private homes and seeing dishes shaking that thing, watching the water go back and forth in the sink. I mean, clouds of dust in the people's backyards with children playing in the backyard. I was in those backyards. I said, I would be down here, you would have to call 911 to get me out of here until you stop that. I mean, kids are breathing that stuff in. No way, shape, or form could you be allowing that stuff on the other side of my 6-foot fence. I don't care what's there. it's coming right over the fence into my house.
Jim, that's the trouble with the code. It's industrial, business property is industrial property. There's no place to put stuff like that. It's all the same thing.
Correct.
Right, I'm not for making more paperwork or having more government involvement, but if there is a way we can come up with as a town where before a property's built, a vacant lot with a new piece of building on it, there's some type of communication that goes back and forth between the town, with the building department, whatever, saying, all right, this is your piece of property, this is what you can do on this piece of property, this is what you can't do. Before plans are drawn up, before everybody gets excited about what the building is gonna look like, because once it gets to the building department, it's this.
Right. Well, also, people spend a lot of money that is wasted.
Right.
If it's rejected, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's
Design it,
better for
yeah.
everybody to know. Like a triage. You know, you sell out a questionnaire, this is my lot, it's, you know.
Right,
This is why I'm saying the decision makers, and maybe when the CAC meets with the planning board, maybe somebody, a representative, Reed Herring, would come from the, building department, maybe you need that third entity there. And may it be an education for the town attorney, just thinking out loud, of all the
Right.
people you should have in a room to be able to say, where are we going with this?
Right.
Otherwise, these applications are gonna be, it's gonna be fight every one of them, because the one trend that we know, everything's getting bigger, and everything is pushing the envelope.
right,
So it's what I can possibly get away with. And it's trade-offs.
Right.
It's all about the game of trade-offs, and everybody's bought into it, and it's worked in the past.
Right.
I'll do this, this, and this. My
Right.
client wants that.
Right.
It's a balance.
There's a lot of pressure
And
there.
that's what they're willing to trade, where the Calico says, no, you have to do this. And you have to do this too. You can't do this.
And the trading partners have changed.
Well, it's a chess game.
yeah, it
It
is.
really is. The worst one was the Ram Island one. We won't talk about that one, but you know the one I'm talking about. But that one, that guy, he built his pool and garage
Yes.
before he did the main house.
Correct.
Put it where the main house was supposed to go and then screamed about a hardship.
Yeah.
And that way he could put the
Yeah,
house.
no one told him go pound salt.
Well, I kind of said, you should really put it, you should take the pool out. When I do something wrong, I have to take it out.
It's right on the garage area, up close to the road, and the house was on the cliff, and they had wetlands down below, and they had some stuff that went into the wetlands. And I would say it was like 80 square feet, 120 square feet of a patio, and you were correct.
Yeah.
I mean, to be real honest with you, and at one point, I believe, here, if I heard it here.
No, I said,
We said, pick up the pool, move.
yeah, I said you guys screwed up. Either build it around the pool.
Right.
Is that you wanted the
That's what
pool?
you said.
Yeah, or you know,
I do remember that.
when you make a mistake, you know,
That was
it's,
6 years ago, or
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
A while ago.
but you know, he won the chess game.
He did.
So, you
So
know,
if this is something people are interested, we have to have some type of communication before you get your permit, whatever. That's gotta be changed in the town code, correct?
well, it's, you can just use the code we got now, just spell it out.
Yeah.
And then it's there. It's,
Well, there's nothing in the code said I have to go to the town and get, all the regulations.
no, but I'm saying if we just, here are the regulations according to the town code of what you can do.
Right.
And now you're aware of them. So don't come with a set of plans that are,
Well, the building department does that.
It's gotta be
well,
something,
after fashion.
something in writing. If
It's gotta be something ahead of time that say, here, architect,
So we've
you're
heard-
gonna build on
heard
Shelter
some
Island.
Good ideas, let Amber and I talk to these
Yeah,
colleagues,
yeah.
discuss this further.
Right. And the other point I want to make is that before I don't know what year it was, we went from 75 to 100. That's just Shelter Island, correct? I think it was Sharon Cast.
Sharon Castier, yeah.
I mean, some ways it's created a nightmare.
Well, that's why she's in New Zealand.
It's not a hard line.
No, it's not, but it's created a nightmare because it's made this area that's
Yeah.
negotiable.
Because it's not a hard line.
Because it's not our line.
Right.
And it makes people in awkward situations.
Well, back then, it used to only be
Somebody
10
just
foot
wanted to either
elevation.
get rid of it or make it 100 feet.
DEC required.
Wasn't even 100 feet. It wasn't 70, it was a 10 foot elevation.
Right.
It didn't even, 75 feet didn't even play into it. It was just 10 foot elevation.
Right.
That's why a lot of those, even the new houses were right there on the
The more
bank.
gray area you have, the more difficulties you have.
Right, right.
So anyway, that's,
I mean, it was good that they moved it back to
I
70.
mean, it was a good idea, but I don't know how it's
Yeah.
working in practicality here. That's all.
And
Well,
Howard,
yes.
did I hear you say that you didn't think that the planning board had public hearings, or there used to be?
No, they had the public.
Yes, okay.
And it was brought up, and in their write-up, the resolution mentions the CAC comment.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, because you said something about when the town board used to have the public hearings.
Right.
So I
Right,
just
no.
want to make sure you,
They have public hearings, and
hearings too.
they're doing the right thing. I'm not saying they're doing the wrong thing, I just think that we have to enforce the code.
But the other thing is, we're just advisory. They don't have to listen to us at all.
Exactly.
They don't.
Exactly.
If you get the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, and, but, you know, sometimes it helps. And, we go to the next one.
Okay.
Which is, what was the next one? Was,
Weinstein and Hanson.
yes, Weinstein and
Exactly.
these people are very accommodating. And we talk to them and we look at myself there and they seem to understand everything I did. Did no objections really. And yet, when you go through the planning board, they don't list all the 6 items. They list the 6 items in the preamble to the resolution, but in the resolution, there's nothing really said about the items that we requested, which was, the items were the no work from the wetland side. It was all from the road side, so we didn't have heavy equipment in it. I mean, we gotta have you to pull out the septic, but that's one piece.
Right.
So whatever you have to do there. We knew that, but we had, the first thing was the vegetation plan should indicate the existing trees. Now, I understand from talking to Ian, they got a revised site plan that shows that. But we don't know that. You know, so, I mean, if it's true that he has it, I haven't seen it.
Remember, he was talking about doing that after the meeting.
Yeah.
He was gonna be real detailed about it.
Right.
So he gave them that, but we didn't see it.
We just haven't
Yeah.
aware of it, and it should be. Yeah. So I think if something has to be okay, you know, at least we should see that plan somehow. And you can see it easily now on, you know, with the computer, just put the plan up there, this is the revised plan.
Right.
It's not like we have to wait for prints.
Did they indicate the depth of the pool? I didn't see it.
No, there's nothing that indicates the depth of the pool.
They're pretty high up there, though. They're like
There's no trouble with
16
that.
feet or so.
We were concerned about the depth because of the conservation of water and stuff like that, the filling and getting off island filling the pools. I don't know what's gonna happen 5 years from now, when the rest of the island says, you know, we're not gonna let you use our water, you know, there's gonna be something going on. But that was one of the things that we just suggested to the owners, and they were pretty understanding of that. And we didn't say you had to do it, but just to consider it because of the heating of the water, the filling of the water, and the use of a pool.
Right on. The automatic pool cover, we did pick that up. We did pick up that recommendation, you know, townwide, so.
But the planning board,
I don't think we have
No, I
finally
don't think,
approved it.
yeah, I don't think it's in code, so.
No.
and it
the
just-
planning board, I talked to Ian about that, he said, we do it only, but his understanding was, and I hope I quote him correct, or pretty close. He would do that if the pool was in the 100 foot. But the pool is out of the 100 foot. So, but as far as I'm concerned, we're conservation. We don't, wetlands is our main object, but we have to think about the overall aquifer and the overall island and the trees and everything.
To the point that when you look at the weather and you want to pull in your backyard, you have a pool cover. If it's a downpour, go out, hit the switch, pull the cover back, downpour, fill up the pool.
Fill the
If it's
pool
a
tank.
brilliant like today and it's blowing, especially it's blowing with leaves and everything, you want to keep the pool clean. The pool cover on. Now you have two inches of water on the pool cover today. You can retract it enough, when you put the pump on, you pump it right into the pool. As the water goes down, you can pull the cover back. You can take the entire amount of water that's on the pool cover, put it back in the pool so you don't have to refill it. I used to just pump it off into the ground.
Right,
Right.
I say,
it's easier to do.
it's easier to do,
Right.
but it's more practical because the guy that comes in to service the pool once a week, if the water level goes down below the skimmer, they take your hose, they don't ask you.
Right.
They just take the hose, put it in there and they fill it up. They come back 3 hours later, 4 hours later, when it's halfway up the skimmer, and they turn it off. You've just had the water on for 4 hours, you know, nonstop. When with a rain like this, I can go above, I don't go to halfway up, I go as high as I can on the skimmer, just to put more water back in the pool. There's ways of conserving it and being a responsible pool owner and cutting down on, but you're aware of it.
Yeah.
When you live in the near shore area, as I testified, I've lived here 17 summers now. The water changes during the months of July and August. I don't care how much rain you get. With the population going up and the amount of water use in that area, it gets salty. The water tastes differently. Come to that house in December, February, drink the water, tastes like regular water. You come in the summertime, especially after we had a little drought in May and June, and it started earlier. It started tasting funny, so to speak. But it's a little saltier. It doesn't taste nearly as good.
So you said there's no code yet for pool covers?
No, but
We've talked about when we update the wetlands code.
yeah.
Okay.
But see, that wouldn't be in the wetlands.
Right, why couldn't it just be general?
Just general for the
Any
island,
pool on the island.
any place on the island.
Put it in the near shore overlay district, then you have to have a pool cover. Forget about the 100-foot.
Why not everywhere? Everywhere.
Why, I mean.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, at least that, you
I
know?
guess we'd have to think
It's
about
better with-
Why can't it be everywhere?
Yeah, it's better for everybody, really.
It's better for them, it's better for, they don't have to worry about salting their well or anything, pumping water in there, you know.
It's less chemical,
Less
Right.
use
it's
of
less evaporation,
right.
it's less cleaning and maintaining it. And there's a lot of advantage. You could use the pool for greater lengths of time, start early and go later, which I go, into October, beginning of October. Because on a day like today, when the temperature drops in the 60s, the pool is normally 10 degrees warmer than the air temperature. It's rare that when it's 86 outside, the water temperature is 86. When the air temperature is 64, the pool temperature is still 76, 12 degrees warmer.
Right.
And when the sun comes out tomorrow, guess what? It'll be 80, 81. But the temperature won't get there, but the temperature will.
I haven't seen a new pool built that didn't have a pool cover, though. Honestly, I can't remember ever seeing one.
It's a big expense, but it's.
Right, so what's the negative?
Got one that had an odd shape, so it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have kidney shape.
Yeah, if it's an odd shape, but most of them are made for them.
The negatives of a pool cover, cost, and then dealing with it, open and closing it, I mean.
Pushing a button.
Whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, they put a different cover on it, that your normal pool cover is not your cover for winter.
Right.
Right.
And they put a cover over that. That pool cover is not designed for that.
No, it doesn't hold the.
I mean, it doesn't hold the weight of the ice and snow.
Right, okay.
Right. And the other item there, well, we had said provide soils instead of fescue, just out of practicality, but I was talking to Ian, he said that's very hard to get soils established. I don't know.
It goes easy. The only thing my thing was is that when it said turf grass, I thought they were gonna throw sod down.
Right.
That's all, you know?
Yeah, we don't want Kentucky.
Yeah.
Turkey blues should not be sold on the island. Because it's gonna water it every day, it's not gonna live.
Yes, exactly. But
Not
They-
sold, I can buy it off island and plant it?
Yeah, true, but it's stupid to put it in.
Right, well then,
Yeah.
right.
And I used to go strictly fescue, and now I'm going rye fescue.
Right,
Because the rye is a deeper rooted, grass. And the deeper the roots, the better.
Yep.
the last item we had was no trees planted in the septic area. And Ian said there is no trees shown now, so they must have got another plan on
Well,
it.
that was the updated plan, they took them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we didn't see that.
Yeah, but that, see, we were all done. We already voted on it.
Right.
So that's why we didn't get any more information.
Yeah.
But then the resolution comes out and it's not in, that should be referenced in the resolution, we've done this to
Right,
satisfy the CAC requirement.
right.
Advice, not requirements.
Right. Yeah, well, they were aware once we explained it to them, so.
Yeah. All right, that was, I just wanted to.
Is that approved, that job? It hasn't started yet. Yeah, I mean, is that all done?
No, this is just the resolution.
Oh, okay.
Now it goes back to
Town board.
town, the building department. It's
Right.
all approved by the
Yeah.
town.
Right.
Goes to building department, and then you get into the energy code about the
Right.
things they have to do. And I was even talking to Reed about the energy code for pools, and he said, nah, there's really nothing. We were looking at that because keep heating up a pool, if you had a cover on it, you might not have to heat it as much, but it's really nothing in the building code. It's something that we could do. All right, well, got that off my list. Invasive plants, I still haven't heard from Dan. I don't know what's holding him up here. I know he's been trying to talk with Tim Pertel about it and get together on that and what type of planting we should take care of. But so far, there's no update on that. The Roxanne with the CAC, I think we should just put that on the website. Because to put it into the paper, I feel that then all the committees should do that. Not just
To what?
put an article on what they do and what their responsibility is in the paper, which we could talk about that in the spring, but at least for now, I think we just
Well, we
put
could
that
set
on our
a
website.
precedent.
We can set a precedent.
Why can't we?
We can.
I mean, honestly, I think you try to do both. I think if you had quarterly articles, and then let's say it costs $250, make up a number,
Right.
$1,000 for the year, to get 4 very, very important messages out to the public, you gotta weigh that, whether you think that those messages are important to get on the website and Shelter Island Reporter.
Right.
you know.
Right, that's what I'm trying to
I
say.
don't know if they would charge for an article. They charge for,
$500 for a full page, so.
that's an advertisement.
That's an
This is
advertisement.
educational, so.
Yeah, I write articles, they
Right.
don't charge me,
Yeah,
I write an
okay.
article.
An article, I'm like, we'd have to pay.
They're looking to fill up their paper a little
Right.
bit too.
Right.
They like a well-written article
Right.
on a timely topic.
I could
Right.
talk to Julie or Ambrose
Yeah.
and see if we put it in. You know, I can.
Well, I think Roxanne should develop that relationship with,
She's the writer.
Okay, yeah, she's the writer of it.
Yeah, let-
It's a good article and everything.
So it's
But-
been approved by the town
Yeah.
board there? Okay, so all we get is
Christine approved it.
approved it, so to go.
It's all set to go.
Okay,
I think you run sometimes if you think that it should be reviewed by somebody, give a copy to Christine.
Oh, yeah, that's what we did with that.
Supervisor reads it, and if
We did.
that person feels that it's necessary for the town board to look at it, they send copies out, otherwise, say, hey, no, it's not controversial. It's usually something that's just helpful.
There was a little part that was controversial and they
Okay,
fixed
all
it.
right, okay.
Everything, the article is very good now, just what we do with that. And I think maybe wait to get an article in the spring. People are here, you know. Either way,
I suppose, yeah.
talk to them. And I'll talk to the other committees. I'll talk to Tim Pertel and planning board too, you know, what they do, what they. So I'll take care of some of that. Okay, pesticides, Mark.
I mean, we did that article and talked about pesticides and really haven't done anything since then, really, so.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, I don't think there's anything we need to keep adding on here unless we decide to do something different.
No.
So you can take it off
Take it
for the future, near future anyway.
Discuss this with again, with the other Green Options Committee and all of that.
Right.
So,
Okay.
all right. Okay, town liaison report, James.
Yeah, the only thing I would like to talk about is the potential committee, not the, it's gonna happen. So I've been working with Tim Patel to address the massive tree clearing process on the lands before they happen. So that maybe the town would have some type of policy that could be followed prior to the mass clearing of trees. So I just sent, before I came here, actually, I sent him last night, I sent him an email because I said we would attack this after Labor Day, and now it's after Labor Day. He finally got back to me today, and I got back to him. So we have Tim, who I'd like to chair, me, Sean Davey, who is also would like to be on that. I would love to have somebody from the CAC to be part of that group, because I think you should be represented directly, you know.
Again, I think the proper person from our would be Dan.
Dan is available.
If he's available.
Right, he's busy.
So I can call him and discuss that with him.
He's got all this tree knowledge.
I need to call him on something else.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try to get a hold of him first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ask him if he would like to be part of that. I don't wanna make the committee too large, but I was thinking basically about 5 people or so. And does anybody, I was gonna ask you tomorrow, if we have 4 of us, is there a 5th person or a group that should be represented?
Let the Green Options get the CAC, maybe water advisory, I don't know. Trees usual.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't wanna plant too many Oaks, they
Dan
take
would know.
100 gallons a day.
Dan would know all that.
So,
You know,
yeah,
I thought we would do our initial work first and then maybe sit down with Steve Kiley and some other people.
Right.
And bounce some ideas off of them.
So this is a informal committee, it's not official sanctioned by the town.
Right, but I think, Jerry,
Yeah, it's just a working
it's
group.
just a working group.
Okay, yeah.
It's an ad hoc.
Right, okay.
Kind of an ad hoc group, yeah.
Right, yeah.
okay, next thing is the old business, the arts and crafts fair. I think that was quite successful. We had a lot of people come around. Not that many people took our literature, but they were there, and I think it was a good thing that we had and we participated in it. I want to thank Peter for being there and Mark. And you, us four.
Yeah, that's one.
That was very good.
I like the location, it worked very well.
Yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
area. Nice. Okay, new business. Now, this one, I don't know where I got this, is septic education week. It was this week, and I forget what, that was sent to me.
It's up your alley.
I have to
No
go
idea.
back on my emails and see where that came from, so I'll have to check that out. But
Okay.
what is that? But, the fertilizer education Thursday, and now there's another one that I have a problem with. I originally had, this is in the library with the Water Advisory Committee. And I had September 29th in the library. And there's some question whether it's the 28th Thursday or
29th.
Friday, yeah, so I'll have to verify that with.
I'll tell you what seems to work better than fertilizer here is just liming correctly.
That's what I did.
And it's like, instead of everybody throws fertilizer, but if you, they have that lime, the pelletized, that slow release.
Correct, that's
And
exactly
that
correct.
does better than the fertilizer, and it actually helps the acidic water too.
Yes, it actually is a weed, not a preventer, a deterrent.
Right.
Because they like it a certain way, and when you lime it like that slowly, it cuts down on weeds.
Yeah,
Bring the mower up higher, use the right grass seed, put some shade in, never have to work,
yeah.
never.
I use the.
I don't know, people, I don't think anybody's really aware of that, but I don't know if, like,
That could be in the article.
like guys like Walter or whatever, that they do a lot of that.
You know what I think would be wonderful if we,
Does it limes a lot? Yeah, that's
you
good.
know, maybe combine with Tim, you know, because the two committees do work side by side with a lot of ideas. A little competition next year, if somebody, you get 10 homeowners or 15 homeowners around the island that are willing to take up part of their lawn and put in a native garden or some type of, you know, and then go and take pictures of it, or maybe have a little
Yep.
garden contest, or
Yeah.
make it fun, you know, where people are willing to try something, and for $500 or, you know, whatever it is, you know, you get 10, 15 people go buy it, they see the native plants there, less grass to cut. That's my motive, you know, no one should I get off the town board, grass, people go by and say, what's that big circle on your front lawn? I say, that's
Yeah.
where the next
Right.
native garden's going in, you know, I just cut down on the lawn.
My wife does all the mowing, and we got some hills, you know?
Yeah.
So she's saying that she's gonna do wildflowers on the real steep parts of the morning work. This year, when I had the cows, I couldn't have thistle there because the cows got into that and it messed them up. But, I let the thistle just grow. The goldfinches that hit that thistle,
Oh, yeah.
every time I drive up the driveway, 5 of them pop out of the thistle bushes,
Yeah,
you know?
goldfinches, yeah.
They love that. But I mean, there's so many things you can plant that just,
Yes.
the birds stay off.
Butterfly, birds, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that will increase habitat and draw them in. I just planted, by the way, last night, late yesterday afternoon, I just went over and checked out before coming here. There's a mulberry bush, a tree.
Right.
I dug one up at Julia's house, Julia and Ed Brennan.
Yeah.
And they donated it, and they have 3 of them, and they had one that was about 6 feet high, 7 feet high.
Yeah.
I dug it up yesterday and I went in and planted it, but I planted in a spot, a nice little sunny shade spot. And looks good, staked it out, I just bought fencing for it, so tomorrow when it stops raining, I'll fence it in, make sure the deer don't go whacking on it.
Yeah.
I did put up some temporary posts so they make it difficult for them to do now. But yes, and it says, you know, produce fruit after about 9 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping I'm still alive enough to be able to see it's premature, drawing all these beautiful birds into my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just the amount of bees that are around all that too. The guy across the street from me that's building a house, he's got some beehives. So that's another reason we're gonna let that whole thing go. And with the butterfly weed and all that different stuff.
Butterfly weed's good.
But
Yeah.
isn't like certain, like the thistle, isn't that invasive?
Probably is, but the goldfinches love it. I mean, that's what the Niger sea
We
is.
have like a little conflict there, you know?
Yeah.
So we have to, that's what we have
can-
to talk about.
Is it a thing? I thought it was native.
It's native,
It's probably
but it's
native.
invasive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so-
But it's probably a good invasive then.
Yeah, it's a good one, yeah. We have two
It's like
lists.
the Bradford pear trees, that they're invasive.
Yeah, they're-
And Carl Place planted 300 of them. And they all died within 3 years of one another.
Oh, and by the way, that stupid, that moth thing that's coming out here, the lanternfly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The lanternfly, yeah.
yeah, the vineyards are super worried about that.
I haven't seen it.
Well, we haven't seen them either, but they say they're on the north. Fork.
Yeah.
The copper beaches are starting to go too. You
Oh, yeah, you
beach
see a
trees,
lot of that.
there's a lot of damage.
Oh, so the copper was left alone?
120-year-old trees.
Yeah, well, I know the regular beaches is hitting the coppers too now.
Coppers, yeah, if you go to Kirk Ressler's house,
Right.
those two he's got on it, three that he's got on his property are hundreds of years old. They're one of the most beautiful.
Yeah, I know, yeah,
And he's tried everything,
right.
with all these sprays.
Okay.
All mine died around the pond.
Last thing on, that I have on the agenda, which isn't on the actual agenda, but we got a memo from the town about meetings. We don't have to have in-person meetings, like some of the committees, like the planning board and stuff. So we can have a combination, we can keep it the way we have it, Zoom
Oh.
and in person, we can have it just in person, we can sort of, it's up to us. My vote is to keep it the way we have it, Zoom, and we learn a lot from
Yeah.
people.
Right, it's nice being in
Bring
person.
us out, so.
I think there's a tremendous advantage, the one opportunity for a guy like Dan that's got little children,
Right,
and
that's true.
babies, and
Sure.
wife working and everything else. Not having him here like for 2 or 3 months in a row, you start to miss him, and, we had that problem with attendance with a
Yeah.
couple of people, so having him have the option to be able to,
Zoom
zoom in,
That's a good idea.
And I understand, and I don't know, maybe you know, will the Zoom then be votable as part of the decision? Oh, it will be? Then I definitely say we should go Zoom and in person.
Or if you're away and you're somewhere and you have a computer, you could be at the meeting from Syracuse or something.
Yeah,
Upstate.
you can zoom in from wherever and it
And still vote.
counts
And
towards
still
the
count.
quorum.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That
That's good.
helps.
That's a good thing.
And with winter coming up, inclement weather, different things like that,
If you go to-
it does help. However, as we found out through education, Zoom versus being in the classroom, there's no substitute for being in the classroom and having physical presence.
Yeah.
So whenever possible, as chairman, you're just trying to say, hey, listen, don't abuse it, just
Right.
use it as a last resort.
Exactly.
If something
Have to.
happens, comes up, you're not feeling well, you got a scratchy throat, rather than come in here and affect everybody, especially with the winter season coming up with flu and stuff like that. Stay home and just zoom in.
Yep,
Just
I
listen.
like it. I like
So
it.
should we take a vote on that? You want to take a vote?
I think you're okay.
I think we're fine. Just-
4-0 to
Yeah,
have,
whatever, yeah. I think
keep
it's
the
good.
meeting as we have it.
And have an option of,
Combination.
But have the option.
the option if you're sick or
Right.
traveling, you can still attend the meeting.
Exactly, and that counts as your attendance.
Correct. I like it.
But one question, the Ram Island job, did that go through the
At the
planning board?
169
Yeah,
one,
169, or is that gonna be resubmitted?
that's gonna be resubmitted.
Okay.
I mean, I couldn't believe that they were taking away the wetlands excavating so they could have a walk down beach.
Well, that, yeah, when I get a storm, they'll find out that wasn't a good idea.
That's what they want, no, you can't do that, that's impossible. No, they haven't done that one yet, so.
Right.
And
I checked my notes, the fertilizer education.
Yes.
WAC at the library is on Thursday, the 28th.
it is the 20, oh, thank you.
Thank you.
That, good. So we have that set.
Excuse me.
That'd be a good thing to try, though. People that fertilize, just try liming and not fertilize and see if there's any big difference, you know? 'Cause that would help a lot of things.
Any, Pam, you have any questions, advice for us?
Actually, gentlemen, I do. One piece of advice that I've noticed that keeps on coming back is that when applicants are putting in their plans, they keep on forgetting about the vegetative plan. And you folks keep on asking for one, and they keep on not submitting it, and then the application moves along the ranks, and they never get back to it, and the vegetative plan is never really submitted, and you fellas never have a chance to review it. So I would like to ask you as a committee to not, as a council, not to pass on an application until you actually have a chance to look at the required vegetative plans when in fact they are requested or, you know, required for an application.
I talked to Ian about this and I watched their meetings. They hire a person to take care of the plantings so that he checks the plan and makes sure it's put that way. So the building department isn't out there looking, is that plan 5 foot or something? They're hiring a person to do that, the planning board, which is, I think is a good idea. Somebody expert that doesn't take away from our building department and stuff like that. So that's where that stands, and I think it's.
After the fact, yeah.
Well, I'm just suggesting that the plan is actually submitted with the application.
Oh,
It's
yes,
never been-
yes, we
not
always
being
bring it up.
Submitted with the application, you folks never see it.
Exactly.
You know,
Right.
and you being the conservation people and the tree people, you should be the
Right.
ones who are looking at it.
Right.
It should not go to, I mean,
Right.
I'm going to be honest with you. I've heard Ian say at meetings, he doesn't know one plant from the other. So that's not any good for them to look at a plan. You know, I mean,
Right.
and all truth be told, because it seems like there's already an issue with one that's coming up that will be revisited and the vegetative plan is still not complete on a wetlands application. So, you know, it's just one other thing that seems to be missing from the packet on the applications that you seem to be requesting more often than not.
Yeah, we
So that's-
look at that all the time,
So
so.
Matt should be aware of that, right, when he does them? He should know there should be a vegetation plan, right? He's done
Yeah.
enough of these.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Matt is the worst offender. Matt is the one who never has it available. I'm serious. He really is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like to pick on people, but he really is the one who doesn't seem to have it at the time of the review. So,
Yeah, I know,
you know,
right?
I'm just trying to suggest that you guys demand that before you take any vote or make any recommendations. If you don't have it and it's required, that you put it off until you have it and you can look at it. I think
Right.
it's very important.
It
We
is
really
very
are
important.
looking at, yeah, you know, we're looking at existing vegetation and talking about maybe not letting people clear trees on properties. And if they're not demarcated on a plan, then you don't know, are they taking down a tree or not, you know?
Exactly, that's what we brought
It
up on
happens to be
Twitter.
my forte, so you know that it's my forte. I am a landscape designer and I really am looking for these plans and I never see them, so
Good,
I just
I
wanted to make
appreciate
that
that.
comment. And,
Good.
yeah, and I think you guys had a great conversation about the code and 13312 and how that's also being ignored.
Right,
The nearshore overlay must be regulated and must be enforced, and it's in the new comprehensive plan how important that district is.
and it was in the
So,
old one too, you know, that's why it was added 20 years ago. You know, into the
That's
code.
right. So I'd just like to make that comment and thank you for bringing that up this evening.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, have a great night.
Yep.
I make a motion to adjourn. We're on it. Was very good.
Thanks.
Thank you.